Welcome back to PsychVids. Today we are focusing on the paradox of choice. We're going to completely dismantle a deeply ingrained cultural belief today. That's the assumption that having more choice automatically equals more freedom and, ultimately greater happiness. It turns out that's just not true.
Picture your typical evening routine. You're endlessly scrolling Netflix for 20 minutes without actually picking a single thing to watch, or maybe you're standing completely paralyzed staring at literally 276 different types of cereal in the supermarket. We have all been there, right? In this explainer, we're diving into exactly why this modern abundance actually triggers anxiety rather than joy.
Here's our roadmap. We'll cover the illusion of freedom, the famous jam study, the cost of choosing, maximizers versus satisficers, and finally, escaping the choice trap.
Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, the illusion of freedom and having too much choice.
For pretty much our entire lives, we've been conditioned to believe that infinite choice is the absolute key to a happy life. But just think about how things have changed. In the 1950s, the post-World War II economic boom gave us our first real taste of mass consumer options. Fast forward to the 1990s, and the internet just multiplies those choices on a massive global scale. Now, in the 2020s, we are absolutely drowning in algorithmic abundance and endless scrolling. The problem is, our brains evolved for scarcity, so we're operating in this hyper-abundant environment that we are simply not psychologically built for.
Moving on to Section 2, the famous jam study, where less is actually more.
To see how this psychological glitch actually plays out in the real world, let's look at Sheena Iyengar's landmark research at Columbia University. Her team set up a tasting booth in an upscale grocery store, displaying 24 varieties of gourmet jam. And as you'd probably expect, this massive, beautiful display generated a huge amount of initial interest from shoppers who were super eager to browse all those different flavors.
But here is where the hard data totally flips our expectations upside down. That massive 24 jam display led to a really dismal 3% purchase rate. Almost nobody actually bought anything. But get this, when the researchers later reduced the options on the table down to just 6 jams, 30% of people bought a jar. That is 10 times more sales generated simply by taking choices away. Crazy, right?
This proves a massive, incredibly counterintuitive disconnect in human behavior. Consciously, we crave the idea of infinite options. We really think we want the 24 jams. But subconsciously, our brains are completely paralyzed by them. When we're faced with just too much to process, we freeze up, and we usually just walk away.
Which brings us to Section 3, the cost of choosing and why all this choice exhausts us.
So why exactly does our brain shut down in the cereal aisle? Well, psychologist Barry Schwartz breaks down the hidden mental taxes we pay for variety. The first mechanism is opportunity cost. Basically, every choice you make immediately highlights the value of the alternatives you're rejecting. If you pick the blue shirt, you kind of more in the red one. We keep this running mental tab open of all those missed options, essentially pre-suffering bad outcomes before we've even finished making a decision. Next up is decision fatigue. This explains why your brain physically tires out from constant analysis. Making choices takes real biological energy, and as your mental stamina drops over the course of a day, your decision-making quality absolutely tanks. This leaves you highly vulnerable to poor impulses, self-blame, and this overwhelming sense of regret when your eventual choice isn't just flawlessly perfect.
And we see these costs manifest literally everywhere in modern life. We see it on dating apps where endless swipes mean nobody actually commits, on streaming platforms that cause total scroll paralysis, in the supermarket with toothpaste overload, and even in our career paths where endless possibilities create a terrifying fear of making the wrong move. When you have infinite options, your expectations skyrocket to absolute perfection. And because of that impossible standard, even an objectively great choice ends up feeling like a huge disappointment.
Section 4. Maximizers versus satisficers. Time to figure out which one you are.
So we kind of have to hold a mirror up to ourselves here. How do you handle this daily barrage of choices? Well, maximizers are exhausted by a relentless quest for absolute perfection. They exhaustively research every single option, and inevitably, they suffer really high regret. Satisficers, on the other hand, prioritize their peace of mind. They seek a good enough option and simply stop searching the second their criteria are met. And the psychological data is super clear on this. Satisficers consistently report significantly higher levels of happiness and well-being.
So take a second and be completely honest with yourself. Are you a maximizer with like 50 browser tabs open right now trying to find the absolute perfect pair of shoes? Really think about whether your pursuit of the perfect choice is actually the exact thing causing your daily burnout.
Finally, Section 5, Escaping the Choice Trap. It's time to intentionally constrain your choices.
Fortunately, we can actually break this cycle. The ultimate secret to satisfaction isn't eliminating choices entirely, but voluntarily putting boundaries around them. The next time you are overwhelmed by a trivial choice, use this really simple protocol to short-circuit decision fatigue. Step 1. Set clear criteria before you even start looking. Step 2. Limit your options to just 3. And Step 3. Pick the very first one that fits your criteria and just immediately move on.
By intentionally becoming a satisficer, you take back control of your cognitive bandwidth. You really need to embrace good enough as a genuine superpower. Create daily defaults for yourself, like adopting a capsule wardrobe or eating the exact same breakfast every day, to aggressively save your mental energy for the things that actually matter. Try to view constraints as a tool for creativity, and actively practice gratitude for the choice you made instead of mourning the choices you left behind.
This all brings us to a really powerful paradigm shift. Freedom isn't having every door open. It's knowing which ones to close. True autonomy doesn't come from keeping a million tabs open on your computer or in your brain. It comes from purposeful limitation.
So, we'll leave you with this challenge. What decision are you overthinking right now? Apply the rule of 3 to it today and just make the call. We hope this explainer helps you find some clarity and peace of mind in a very noisy world. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode.